Hey, this is Stephen Ament. Welcome to my Exorcism.io series. In this episode, I'll be working through the Scrabble score exercise from the Ruby track. So, if you're not familiar with Scrabble, it's a board game. And in this game, each player gets a set of these tiles with letters on them, and each letter is worth a certain number of points. And the way you score in this game is by spelling words on the board from your set of tiles. And what you do is you add those numbers up. You sum them together, and that's your score for that word. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's open up our bottom pane for testing. And let's open up the test file. We're going to run it, and as usual, it's going to fail because we don't have a file called Scrabble score test. Or scrabblescore.rb. That will also fail because we have not initialized our constant yet. So let's create this. It's called Scrabble. It's going to fail because we need an initializer that takes a word. And I haven't created that yet. Okay, now we're going to fail because we don't have a score method, instance method. And then it'll fail one more time because our test here on line 5, test empty word score 0, is expecting to receive a 0 back. So let's hard code that for the moment. We'll have to actually implement real functionality pretty quickly. I think there's going to be another step in the middle. And again, the reason why I do this, one is I like to make sure that my tests are specifying the actual behavior of my class. If there's some behavior that my class needs to have, I want it to be described by this test. And so, and the other side of it is that I want to write the least amount of code. I want the simplest possible solution, at least to begin with, to get the result that I need. All right, let's move on. This will work. And our next test scores with a very short word, is going to be our next failure because it's expecting 1 back, but we're actually returning 0. So what can we do? Well, we need to capture our word, because now we actually need to look at it. And I think what we can do, let's see, what's the simplest way to make both of these tests pass? I'm going to skip this test to begin with, because that's going to complicate things for me. Because what I want to do is, if I don't have anything, if I don't have any letters, I want a 0, otherwise I want a 1. That's the first test. I want to know if word is empty. I want to return 0, otherwise I want to return 1. So in order to accomplish this, this is not going to work because nil doesn't respond to empty. So what can we do? Well, we can sanitize our input and make sure we have a string. Make sure we're past a string. And that's going to get us there, but it's going to fail on this white space test. So what can we do here? How do we do that? Well, I guess for the moment, something we can do is do a G sub here of any white space with an empty string. And that's going to get us past there. And so with this next case here, we actually have to add more functionality. And at this point, the cost of continuing down this road versus actually implementing a solution that really does the scoring, I don't think the trade-off is worth it there. So this is a point where I'm actually going to build this out. So okay, we need to take a big leap here to get this working. What I want to be able to do is actually here, I want to have letters. And I want to be able to take the values of those letters, whatever that means. I'm just kind of pseudocoding here. And for those values, I want to be able to add them up. I want to sum those values together and return whatever that is. All right, so how can I get this? Well, letters in this case is going to be my word. And instead of splitting, I can split it to get an array of letters. But that's not going to, actually in this case, this will probably work. Oh, well, no, because there's no such thing as letters.value, sorry. This is going to work because of my G sub. But let's just see. How do I get values from this? Well, the creators of this exercise have helpfully given us the mapping of the letters to scores in the README. This is what they gave us. And what I think we need is, let's see, letter values maybe is a constant. What I want is a hash, because I want to be able to look up the letter, right? I want to be able to say, I want to be able to map this to values. And so for each letter, I want to be able to say letter values, letter. I want that to be, I want that to give me an array of the values. And then from those, I want to build up a score, a composite score of those things. Now, we can do that pretty explicitly, or we can do it. Well, so how would you do that explicitly? You would have a score here. You would return score at the end, and then you could each over these, and you could add letter. Oh, sorry, this is value, because we've mapped it to the value. And you could add that there, and you could return score. So it still leaves us with the problem where we got to get these in here, paste it in here. I'm going to convert these to a hash of keys being letters and values being the numbers. And then I kind of want to format it in a way that's easy to read. But this is going to be so painful for you to watch me do that I'm going to fast forward through this and make it really fast, and then I'll just kind of show you what I've got. Okay, so what I've done here is I've taken the mapping that they gave us of letters to values, and I've converted it to a hash in which each key is a letter and each value is the score that goes along with that particular letter. And I've just grouped them here visually. I could put ones all on one line, but it's too long. So I just split that in half. And, each, I just group them all together. So it's easy to, if you just look, it's easy to kind of see what the scores are and how they're grouped together. And let's see, I haven't run this yet. And so that actually works. So something we can do here, instead of requiring this G sub to get rid of that white space, is instead of splitting, we can scan based on our letter characters. And I think that will accomplish the same thing. I like that a little bit better. It's a little clearer what's happening. That all I'm interested in are letter characters. Okay, well, let's continue on getting our test to pass. think this is going to pass just fine. The next test is going to pass as well. I think we may be done here. Let's see, 34, delete, run that, test scores. Aha, we have another failure here. And this is happening because we are not downcasing. There we go. And so this will fail because it's looking for this convenient scoring method, which doesn't exist. So this is a pattern that you see from time to time, that if you have a utility class here that really just has one method, like this score, that instead of having to type all this out, having to new up your object and score it, you just give a class level method that internally is going to do the same thing as this. So let's go ahead and define that. That's going to now it's going to fail because it expects the argument for the word. And now it's going to fail because it's returning nil, but we're actually returning 13. And now I could do what I said that I do earlier and just return 13 and then force myself to add another test to make sure it's actually doing the functionality. And let's just go ahead and do that, I guess. And what I can do is I can just take, just take the test for street off of line 26 and then change the way we're calling it. And now this will fail. And so that's just going to force me to go ahead and new up my Scrabble object with word and then call score. And simple as that. All of our tests pass. This code is, it's not terrible code, but it can definitely be improved. And so let's go ahead and submit this. Let's pause here, and I'll be right back in a second video to refactor this.